Hey everyone, Derpy here, and welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. This is one I've wanted to make for a long time, but I finally got around to it. This is my How to Kill Legion Castras detailed overview. This will be helpful in the remainder of the October raid, and as we see these targets in TLCs and on the map in other places. So let's get started. Legion Castras are siege targets, which means you want to use siege ships. These, at least current day, are ships like the ones I've shown on screen. The Dragoon, the Eradicator, the Shrike, and the Scoundrel. And if those have flagship versions, those are obviously applicable also. Other things that you can use are things like the Cannoneers or Ironclads in some very low targets, and some Hydras maybe in some other of the low tier targets. But generally speaking, you want to use at least the Eradicators, and moving them from that, the Dragoons. And the Scoundrel is a special experimental hull that will help in a couple certain high level targets. So on your ships, I'm going to give some general build advice for what you want to have. Having things like ballistic radioactive damage is the standard for your siege ships. Cannons or launchers are what we have seen so far, with the vast majority of damage being on the cannon side. The one ship that's used launchers that comes to mind right now is the Hydra, or the Shrike. And you want to increase ballistic and radioactive survival in any ways that you can, because siege targets deal ballistic and radioactive damage. A lot of this stuff is built in, like on my Dragoons, or you can use specials like CL3 or CL4 if it makes sense to help increase the survival of your Eradicators, of your Shrikes, or other things. You can also use things like countermeasures. Generally speaking, these are sprints and gales that are useful to shoot down UAVs in the more recent Legion Castra targets. This build to the right here is an example of my countermeasure ship on my Dragoons. I've got 5 sprints on there as countermeasures. I have armor, increase in ballistic and radioactive survival, and some built-in stats. The one weapon I have on here is a cannon that deals ballistic damage. So let's talk about some of the turrets that are in the Legion Castras. I'm going to go over them from lowest threat to highest. The first is the Tempest Launcher. The Tempest Launcher is a radioactive turret that is very short range. It's in essentially all targets, but it has a near zero threat because it only has a very narrow, very small firing arc. And you can avoid damage from this if you just stay away from it and stay more than about 30 range. I will note that if you have to go close, you can just keep moving at a very high speed because it's an area of effect weapon, so it won't target your ships. So I've had a couple times where I've taken my Dragoons and I moved past this very fast and not gotten hit by most of the damage. The next turret is the Wendigo Launcher, or modified Wendigo Launcher. This deals radioactive damage and is again an AoE weapon, which means that while it is in all targets, it is considered a low threat by me because if you keep moving, you can avoid all damage from it. I've hit a couple 124s and 126s where I've got almost zero radioactive damage from these turrets. Now, while it is low in threat, it adds up a lot because some targets will have a whole bunch of them, a whole bunch of these turrets in there, so it does add up, and if you stop, it's gonna hurt you. The next turret here is one that you really can't avoid damage from. It's called the Peashooter UAV. It deals ballistic damage and is in essentially all Legion Castra targets. I'm gonna categorize it as a medium threat, so you want to focus this before the others here if you can. There's no way that I have found to completely avoid damage from this, but you can minimize it by using countermeasures such as sprints or gales. Generally speaking, sprints perform better than gales because of the high projectile speed from these UAV turrets. Now we get into the super ridiculous stuff. The next one is a Mercury thrower. It is a radioactive turret that has a firing arc on a set timer. It is not auto-friendly, so if you're trying to hit these targets on auto, it won't work very well at all. You can avoid damage from this completely though by timing things well because it fires in a narrow firing arc on a timer. So before you go on your target, plan your next move, take some time, hide in some alcoves, hide in some corners, stay away from it. I'm going to categorize this as a high threat, which means you should be worried about this, and you can tell from the way it looks that it's going to hurt if it hits your ships. The last turret I'll talk about here is the Pluto Cannon. It has massive area of effect damage, and it's ballistic, and it's in the elite targets only. This is a very high threat, and you can't avoid damage from this. You can minimize it by using your scoundrel to go in and blitz out these turrets in the targets, or you can use your pinch if you are able to retreat in battles to stun these turrets while you kill them with your dragoons. These are only for the high level players to deal with, and have only been in the high level co-op targets so far in the raids, which means that if there are co-op targets in the future, you could even have an alliance mate or friend come in with a scoundrel to take care of them while you use your dragoons to finish off most of the target. So I've had a lot of feedback from people who are having trouble in this raid, and I have a couple things that you can do to help yourself out. First of all, you can keep practicing. It doesn't start out with low damage, and you're not going to have the best results immediately. So if you're hitting the target, don't get worried about your first damage. If it's 3 hours, you can cut it down a little bit. Secondly, you can check your builds. Your builds should be similar to each other, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be matching my build or whatever build you're trying to exactly, as long as they're fairly similar. If you notice, for example, that your dragoons all have CL4 and none of the higher level ones do, no high level player has CL4 on the dragoons, it means it shouldn't be on there because you're doing something wrong. Generally speaking, players are happy to give advice. You can always comment and I'll tell you what I think. Next up, you can upgrade ships if possible. Now, upgrading ships does cost build time in your shipyard, and I understand that not everyone can do that. In fact, on my fleet, 3 of my dragoons are still at U0, while only 1 is at U2 and the other is at U3. The best ship to upgrade here is your ship in the 5th slot position. I talked about that more in my dragoon fleet spotlight. The next thing you can do to help yourself is watch videos. You can check Facebook, forums, or YouTube, and that's going to be able to help you understand what path you want to take for this target. Even if your ships aren't the same upgrade level, the path is the same for all the targets. The last thing you can do here is if you have a specific question, you can comment below and I'll see if I can help you. YouTube generally gets a faster response from me and is guaranteed to get a response where I might not see all Facebook comments. So I now have 4 more things that you can do at the end of this video. Number 1 is you can comment below and let me help answer any questions that you have on this video or with Legion Castras siege targets in general. Number 2 is you can just like the video. Liking the video lets me know that videos like this are good and you want to see more of them. And if you want to see more of them, I'll make more of them. Number 3 is you can subscribe, and this gets all my videos in one place. It's not dependent on seeing them on Facebook and making sure that I actually end up posting every single video to Facebook, because some might just stay on YouTube. The last thing you can do is you can click the notification bell, and that helps you see all my videos first. So as always, this is Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.